Hey there fellow adult collectors, welcome back. David Eon here with another Mezco unboxing, and this time we're taking a look at the Netflix version of Daredevil. Netflix version of Daredevil, and this is one that Mezco kind of snuck by because they've actually made a lot of Daredevil figures. Now go ahead and get started opening this up. There's, I believe, about 5 of them so far. There's this one, there's an all-black version, there's the red version, the classic yellow version, and then the vigilante version. Just off the top of my head, those are the 5 that I can think of. And I have the yellow version, the classic, like, costume that he wore for the first 5 issues of Daredevil, really. And then now I have this one. There's the paperwork. It always comes with this slip now that says, please don't play with this too much, you'll break it because they're fragile. And here is our Daredevil. And there's really not much to this, actually. There's very little in this package in comparison to the other ones that I've seen as far as accessories. And there he goes, hands fell out. A figure, 1 extra head, 4 extra hands, and then his baton, and that's really it. That's really it. This one is very simple. Take a look underneath here. If I can get that out. The second tray doesn't have very much either. So we'll go ahead, since we are going to take a close look at this, we'll get him out of the package and stand him up and take a look at his accessories and test his articulation. And we are back with our Mezco 112 Collective Daredevil Netflix edition out of the packaging. And that, of course, is the Daredevil armor, similar to what was worn in the show. And we don't get an unmasked head with this one. We don't. And I'm kind of disappointed. I would like to see an unmasked head or a damaged mask head like on the original version of Daredevil that I already have. Looks good so far, and in a moment we will test his articulation. This, by the way, was a gift. This was given to me by LPH. I did not have this one, and she got it for me. Very nice of her, and I do appreciate that very much. A lot of detail on the costume, and it's not as tight fitting, and there's not too many rubberized parts in the crotch, so hopefully this will pose well. I'm hoping. We will see, because you can never tell with Mezco. You can never tell. A lot of detail on the boot there. Look at that. On the costume all around, the texture and everything, there's a lot of good detail. But Mezco has gotten pretty good about physical details, and the peg fits very well into the foot on this one also. See, I can pick it up, it's not coming out. Pegs and the opening in the foot have been a problem for me in the past, and I've brought that up several times, that often they don't fit, or they're too loose, or the ankle is so loose that the figure just topples over. That's a big problem with a lot of Mezcos. They've been getting better with it though, although they dropped the ball with the John Wick figure and that foot peg. Here's the other head, and it's a grimacing head. It's not a damaged head, a battle wounded head. And it would have been nice to get one, is all I'm saying. 2 gripping hands for holding his batons. And we'll change hands out and see how that works. And 2 reaching or clasping hands, if you will. Like he's grabbing something or trying to hold on to something. And as I pointed out, very little in the way of accessories with this one. And then of course the batons, which fit together. There is a peg, and that peg, it looks pretty flimsy, so if I look a little shaky, it's because I'm looking through the camera window and not directly at my hands. That doesn't look very stable. It looks like if you're not careful, you could break that peg off in there. So watch out for that if you get this figure. That's it for accessories aside from the gripping arm and the 112 collective bag. So let's go ahead and get him off of there and test his articulation. He looks way up. That's good. Good head articulation all the way around, and it's a double jointed neck. See, the neck unit does move independently, and that's a good feature. Take his head off. That came off really easy. Put on the angry head. No problem with the transition. Shoulder articulation, pretty smooth. There's a lot of loose fabric around the shoulder, and you see there's a seam here also, so this middle piece is like a vest, so that helps with that. Coming forward though, it kind of stalls. Trying to rise up in the front, it bunches somewhat. It feels like there's a double joint in the elbow, but you can't quite pull it off because this rubberized bit on the elbow and forearm is blocking it from going any further than that. Bicep rotation is good. Wrist rotation is pretty good. We'll change out a hand. See how that works. And they've gotten better with this also. These pegs are a little larger than they used to be, because some of them, they were super thin, like the tip of a pencil, and transition is pretty good there. And by the way, that of course led to a lot of broken wrists. Side to side, not too bad. Some restriction. Ab crunch is restricted. In this vest, you see it floats, because you can see under it there as the costume goes up under it. But yeah, the ab crunch does have some restriction. Splits, it stops right there because of the rubberized part, and you can actually even see the seam in there, and I don't want to split that. Rear tilt, not very good at all. That's really restricted. I haven't seen one that restricted since I reviewed the Aquaman, the movie Aquaman. Forward's not too bad. Knees are double jointed, but it stalls. It stalls because of the bunchy fabric and the other pieces. Like you can see this another pleather kind of patch behind there, and this fabric wears out pretty quickly, so I don't know if I'd want to keep his knees bent because that'll just strip away. Turning ratio is good. Side to side tilt, very restricted on the ankles. Forward and backward motion, very limited as well. Alright, there you go. Well, let's go ahead and get him posed and set him up in the museum with the other Mezcos and see how he looks. And here we go, back down to the museum. And we're going to head over to the Mezco section. You see I still have some gaps here. I haven't had much time to get back to working on filling in the spaces. But here's the Mezco section, and now our Netflix edition Daredevil. And I'll give it to him on this. This is one of the few Mezcos that I've got where the foot peg or the ankle is tight enough and the foot peg is secure enough that I can actually do a running pose without the use of the stand. So that kind of surprised me. Most of the other ones, their ankles are too weak or the peg doesn't fit right, and they're constantly falling over. Especially the female characters, like Wonder Woman drives me nuts. This figure falls over every other day. And I don't want to put her on the stand. This one's always fallen over too. The Reverse Flash, the Zoom figure there. But yeah, I do like him. I think it is a good likeness of the costume. Of course, it's not a good likeness of the actor because you can't see his face. Not really, just the mouth part, but it surprises me that he didn't come with more pieces like this figure. And that's the original Daredevil, the costume that was worn in the original first 5 issues of Daredevil. And a lot of people don't like this one. I actually kind of do like it. I think the reason, though, that they don't like it is because this pleather material, as I pointed out earlier, it dries and it cracks and splits. And, you know, if you have him in a pose and he's locked up for too long, it's going to flake off and tear and split and whatever. But I don't have him in really that dynamic of a pose, so I'm not worried about it. Plus, there's a very controlled environment in this room. And moisture and temperature changes affect that material quite a bit. But overall, I do like it. Again, I'm surprised that there is a lack of accessories with this figure, because they could have included something, a couple of pieces. Again, this one has a baton with a wire between it so that you can make it look like he's throwing, or maybe an unmasked head, but maybe they couldn't work out the licensing for unmasking his head. You know, that's always a possibility. Some minor restrictions with the fluidity of posing, but that's negligible. I've seen worse with posing restrictions on these figures. As I had mentioned earlier, the movie version Aquaman, that's the most pose you're going to get out of him. His body just will not move because of the armor plates they put on the outside of the costume. Very restrictive. The Ghostbusters are very difficult to pose also. But I do like him. I like him overall. I wish I had the other Daredevils, but you know, it is what it is, folks. You can't have everything. Any thoughts? Do you have this figure, or is this one that you're interested in? Has this video helped you decide one way or the other if you would want to be bothered getting this Daredevil? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new. All that good stuff. Please do check out our other videos. I've done a ton of Mezco unboxings, and I've done a lot of unboxings of other figures as well from various toy lines. You see my 1/6 scale Mondo Masters down here, just as an example, as well as showcases of many vintage action figures and toy lines, toy discussions, many things that we do on this channel. We're kind of an all-in adult nostalgia channel. So what more can I say but thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.